All right, everyone. So today I wanted to talk about 5 things that we need in Raid Shadow Legends. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, and this isn't just my personal opinion. This is a collection of responses that I've just been reading through many different Raid Shadow Legends communities. So let's go ahead and get started here with number 1. And number 1 is a simple one, something we've been asking for a very long time now, but I really wanted to talk about how the 3 versus 3 arena doesn't really fit into this category as well as Plarium might think it does. And that is, of course, new content. So we do have the 3 versus 3 arena, which is coming out in Raid patch 2.0, which of course was originally called 1.16, but they decided to rename it to 2.0, probably to generate more hype. But you know, the response to 3 versus 3 arena from the community has been a mixed bag, to put it lightly. A lot of people don't really feel about it the way that I think Plarium wants people to feel, and there are several different reasons. And personally, I also think that the 3 versus 3 arena doesn't fall under the category of new content as much as Plarium thinks it does. Now, technically, sure, it might still be new content and a new feature coming to the game, but all it's really doing is just building around the existing arena feature that we already have. The actual combat is going to function very similarly, it's just going to be on a larger scale. Sure, the rewards are going to be a little bit different, but they're also going to be using a very similar type ranking system as the one that we have in Arena as well. And also, another important thing to note is that Arena in general is a competitive feature that, you know, generally tends to cater more towards the paid players, much more so than the free-to-play players. And even in a game like Raid Shadow Legends, which does have a pretty heavy pay-to-play spending base, there's a lot of people who either spend very little or none at all. And, you know, arena type PvP features like this just generally aren't going to appeal to that player base as much as, you know, the whales and the top spenders. So, you know, there's a bit of a disconnect there between what Plarium thinks people really want versus what the majority of people really want. Sure, arena's cool, you know, it's a nice feature, but, you know, to kind of have that as the main focus point of Raid 2.0 just shows that disconnect that Plarium has with the majority of people who actually play their game. So when I say new content, I'm talking about things that we've been asking for a really long time, and they've actually got some good ideas. The problem is they aren't actually moving along with those at the pace that people want them to. Now we have this Void Tower feature, which has been in the game, you know, kind of hidden and locked away for a really long time, and we were actually supposed to end up getting this before the 3 versus 3 arena, but it seems like Plarium did the old switcheroo on the roadmap and decided to put 3 versus 3 arena before the actual Void Tower, and of course make it patch 2.0, which is, you know, Raid 2.0, really hype it up a lot. So Void Tower, you know, this would actually be new content. We don't have a system like this in the actual game, and another cool thing about the Void Tower is it fits in really well with these types of games where, you know, you kind of have like a daily rotation or a set cycle in which you do things. And in a lot of cases with tower type systems, you can reset it, you know, like every week or every month or so and so forth, and it would just be a really great feature to have. So you know, they did do the switcheroo though, nothing we can do about it now. At this point though, I'm really hoping that the Void Tower is just very next on the list after they kind of finish up everything related to this 3 versus 3 arena. But even besides the Void Tower, there's other stuff that they can still do with new content. Like, we have on the roadmap as well a new clan boss coming to the game, and I'm not just talking about a new difficulty like Ultra Nightmare. I'm talking about a whole new clan boss itself. It's going to be like a Hydra type multi-headed boss. That's towards the end of the roadmap though, so at the pace that we've been going, unfortunately that could still be a while before it comes out. But also even things like expanding upon the dungeons here. Now we did get the stage 20 to Ice Golem, Dragon, Fire Knights, and Spiders a while ago. Originally the game did not have that, but you know, ever since then, that's pretty much been the last addition to extra stages here in the dungeons. So, you know, either adding more stages there, technically I guess that's not new content, but you know, there's been a lot of people farming the same stage dungeons over and over now for what, probably 6 months now, or even expanding upon the actual keeps and minotaurs. These here are still at level 15, so you know, will they ever add stages 20 to this content here on the left side? I don't know. I don't think they actually will. In fact, I think they said that it's not really anywhere even close to the top of their priority list. But there's a lot that they can end up doing with this game in terms of new content, and I'm really hoping that, you know, after this 3 versus 3 arena, we start to see more signs with, you know, the stuff that the majority of the player base has been asking for a long time now. So that's number one on the list. That's a really big one, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit and really focus on, you know, the whole craziness with the 3 versus 3 arena and, you know, the reception that they've had. I think it's a big sign that they haven't got the 1,000 people that they needed to test it. A lot of people weren't really interested, and they had to go back and ask more people to actually apply to the testing program. That alone should be enough of a sign to say, hey, Plarium, maybe people aren't as interested in this as you might actually think. So anyway, now moving on to number 2 here, and this is another really big one, and that is more ways to get skill books. This is absolutely huge, and skill books are easily the number 1 bottleneck resource in the game. You know, not even getting into actually pulling the units themselves with shards, but once you actually get the units, now you need an insane amount of skill books in order to make them really good. And the difference between a booked unit and an unbooked unit is night and day. So, you know, more ways to get skill books in game would be absolutely awesome. And this is something that people have been asking for a very long time. So even if they don't want to actually drop the skill books themselves, like in dungeon drops, maybe introduce like a skill page type system. This was my suggestion that I, you know, thought would be pretty cool, is if you needed like 10 or a certain number of pages in order to make a full skill book and then drop the pages instead of the actual full books themselves, that would kind of solve that problem while not obviously making them way too accessible, because I understand that they do make a decent amount of money from these skill books. But there is an arena store coming to the game with the 3 versus 3 arena. We'll kind of have to see what stuff is added into the arena store, and even the Diamond here said that he would like to be able to purchase legendary tomes in the new arena store. Now, will there be legendary tomes in the arena store? I'd say at this point it's either extremely unlikely, or they're going to be so expensive that most people will never even be able to afford you know, buying a decent amount of them. But they've got the arena store. They could also do like a store type feature with the clan boss system instead of the RNG heavy chest system that we have right now. So that would be really cool. And there's just a lot that they could do in order to implement this in a good, fair way that wouldn't affect their profits too much and really make the majority of people playing the game much happier with getting a very important feature. So that's going to be number 2 right there. Alright, and now moving on to number 3 on the list here. This is a really big one, especially as of lately, and we have been on a huge dry streak for this, and that is less 10x events and more 2x events. And it really seems like Plarium has been hammering out the 10x events a whole lot lately, and it used to be fairly consistent. Like, they used to put out a decent amount of 10x events still, but nowhere even close to the amount of them that we've seen lately, and we've been on a huge dry streak. So the thing is, the 10x events are really mostly for the whales, because the chance of actually getting legendaries or epics stays the same. All it does is boost your chances of getting a very particular legendary or a particular set of legendaries compared to all the other ones. So the problem is, you know, these events are really best for people who already have a ton of legendaries and they're only looking for very specific units. But you have to have done a ton of summons and spent a ton of money on this game in order to get to that point. And that's not the majority of people playing the game. You know, most people would probably just be happy with any kind of decent legendary. So anything you can do to boost that chance, which is where the 2x events come into play, because they actually double your chances of legendaries to go up to a full 1%, 12% from sacred charts, and they give you a 16% drop rate for epics. You know, that's really what you are looking to save your shards for. So I'm really hoping they decide to go back to somewhat reasonably paced 2x events. Like, they don't have to be exactly every X amount of weeks, but, you know, as long as they're in the ballpark. Lately, it's just been a madhouse with the extreme lack of 2x events and the over amount of 10x events. So anyway, that's a big one, and you know, maybe you guys are watching this video sometime in the future, and hopefully they've put out a couple of 2x events since then. But next should be ancient shards. There is a possibility they go back to sacreds though, but honestly, Plarium could even do a very Plarium thing right now and honestly do voids back to back. Even though I believe voids was the very last one that we had, it's been such a long time now since the last 2x event that they could actually just go back to voids at this point. So hopefully they don't do that. I'm really looking forward to ancients. That's the one that I personally want to see the most, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see when that actually happens. So That's number 3 right there. And now number 4. This is a big one. I'm not going to talk too much about it in this video because there's probably a whole separate video. Easily, I could talk about this on my own abouts, and I've already briefly mentioned it, but that is tournament reward improvements. This is a major problem. Tournament rewards are all over the place. I mean, you have some tournaments where I would say like the rewards are okay. They're not great or anything. They're okay. But then you have some tournaments where the rewards are just absolutely abysmal. Like they are, I don't know what is going on with the person who does the tournament rewards. And this is a major problem because, you know, especially if you have like 2 tournaments where you need to do the same thing for both tournaments, and then one of them has okay rewards, but then the other one has just absolutely awful rewards. Like it doesn't really leave a great feeling behind. And another thing as well is the actual onslaught gear, not the onslaught gear, the relentless gear. There we go. The Relentless gear got nerfed, and now that you have the Relentless sets as the top rewards for tournaments, a lot of people would actually rather go for like 3rd place here because they're going to get 2 Ancient Shards, which is like 180 gems worth of value. Whereas if you get 1st or 2nd, sure, you get this, you know, Relentless gear, but, you know, not only do you have to risk the actual RNG gamble of not getting flat stats, but, you know, the Relentless set is not as good as it used to be beforehand, so a lot of people would just skip out on it. So that's a big problem on its own right there. And then, of course, we've got the Arena Onslaught Tournament here, which was a new addition to the game, you know, with so-called new, great, insane rewards. I'm not so sure about that right there. So something's going on with tournaments and tournament rewards. It's definitely a problem, and it absolutely needs to be fixed and approved upon. So that's number 4 right there. And now moving on to number 5 here, and this is another really big one that I think Plarium has a lot of potential here to just make an absolutely awesome system out of this, but right now it is very lackluster, and that is marketplace improvements. So there technically actually is scaling market rewards. I believe when you get to certain account levels like level 30, level 40, 50, something around there, the rewards do get a little bit better, but they don't get a whole lot better. They could really ramp up the way that rewards scale and actually include things like, you know, 6-star gear, maybe completely get rid of the 3-star gear. The fact that you still even see 3-star gear in the market at, you know, the point in the game that a lot of people are at is just absolutely insane. Complete waste of a spot right there. They could do a lot of really cool things with this. They could add energy refills to the market, even if it's a rare chance, you know, add a small chance of rare champions showing up. That's a possibility as well. They could uncap the amount of ancients, like that's something too. You can technically get ancient shards, but you can only end up getting 5 of them per month. And once you've gotten those 5 ancient shards, there's absolutely no reason to ever refresh the market. You know, this is something people can spend their gems on, and people spend money on gems. So even Plarium could find a way to make money by simply improving the marketplace and really make not only non-spenders feel better, but also spenders, because they would have a chance to actually refresh the market and not feel like they're completely throwing their gems away, which is kind of what happens now when you spend 5 gems refreshing the market. So lots of potential. It really needs an update. You know, absolutely something I see a lot of people talking about as well. So absolutely wanted to add this to the list here. In fact, I just saw a giant post about, you know, possible marketplace improvements, and it seemed like a lot of people were in support of this being one of the features of the game that really needs a bit of attention. So anyway, this was just a list of 5 out of the many things that we need in Raid Shadow Legends. Emphasis on the many. I could probably do a 50 things that we need in Raid Shadow Legends, but this is enough time here to talk about some of the 5 most important ones that I've seen, not just for myself, but you know, a relatively general consensus among many Raid Shadow Legends communities. So that's going to be it for the video. If you guys enjoyed and you want more like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine, so thank you so much to all of you who decide to do that. And more Raid Shadow Legends videos, guides, tutorials, all that fun stuff should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out, but if not, until next time, take care everyone. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.